These are my kittens. Well, 2 of my 6 kittens. Let me go put them back with their mother. Yeah, the stray cat that we've been taking care of for a while now because we noticed she was pregnant. She just gave birth about a week ago. So now I have a bunch of kittens in my house. So no kids, just kittens. But if I did have kids, the very first lesson that I would teach them is that as a Miami Dolphins fan, we don't get to have nice things. That's literally rule number 1. Now, my kids probably would be Dolphins fans. I don't really think I would give them a choice. That's if they like sports. If you're going to like sports and you're going to watch football, you're going to be a Dolphins fan. I'm just sorry. That it is what it is. You live in South Florida, you're going to root for the local teams. I don't raise no bandwagons over here. Now, one might say that me subjecting my children to Miami Dolphins football could be bad parenting, and you may very well be right, but it just is what it is. You got to learn early that we don't get nice things, because even on a night like tonight, where the Miami Dolphins win 21-27 on Monday Night Football versus the New York Jets, a night where Tua actually looks pretty decent in prime time. I know the yardage numbers don't really jump out at you, but if you watch the game, he was efficient. He looked confident. He was moving well all over inside and outside the pocket, and he was finding guys wide open, had a couple of nice touchdowns. So even on a night like that, like tonight, a good Tua primetime game, we don't get those very often. On a night where you get Darren Waller returning from injury/retirement and shocking the world, playing very well. I was very critical of him earlier. I was calling him the next Will Fuller and Odell Beckham, and along those the joining that list of Dolphin disappointments. But he played well today. 2 touchdowns, recovered an onside kick late. So even on a night like tonight, when the Dolphins get their first win of the season, everything looks great. Aside from the defensive line on the very first drive. But outside of that, they're pretty good. Forced a few turnovers today. Really a fun game to watch overall. We still cannot enjoy it because Tyreek Hill had to dislocate his knee, break his leg, whatever the hell you want to call it. It was a gruesome leg injury in which he was carted off of the field. And it sucks because you finally started to see this Dolphins offense start to click. And just when things were looking great, it's like, nope, you don't get to have nice things, Dolphins fans. And it sucks. It definitely does suck. Nobody deserves to get injured like that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm too sad or mad just because, truthfully, I've never really been a big Tyreek Hill guy. We're not going to get into the personal stuff, but just because of everything that he's done in his life and his personal life, I just found it kind of hard to root for him. Now, he was a fun player to watch, certainly, at least for his first couple of years here. But since then, there has been a lot of stuff I didn't like, with the comments and quitting, especially with how last season ended. Everything was so great when they were winning early on. Oh, Tua is the most accurate quarterback I've ever had. He's better than Mahomes, this and that. And then as soon as things got tough, he ran. And I didn't really like that stuff from Tyreek Hill either. So I've kind of been cool on him for a couple years now. So definitely not his biggest fan, but all of that is it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant just because it was a pretty gruesome injury. I definitely feel for him. That was I'd imagine pretty traumatic. And just if you want to just keep it in terms of football itself, it's bad news for the Dolphins. At 0-3. Your season is likely lost, but it's not impossible to turn it around and make the postseason after that. Now without Tyreek Hill, it's going to be tough, because he was obviously your most dynamic weapon. He got off to a little bit of a slow start this season, but he was pretty well, I think, last week. And then, or I think he finally had his first catch over 30 yards. That was in week 2, actually. But regardless of the first, 3 weeks, he really picked it up today. I mean, they were force feeding him early on. Tua was finding him all over the middle of the field, and it was like, damn, okay, they're finally using their max player weapon, their multi-million-dollar, whatever it is. I don't know how much he's getting paid, but tens of millions of dollars a year weapon. They're finally using him like it. Everything was looking great. Caught a massive catch for a first down, tough catch. Then you see him grab his knee. And right away, I saw all the players on their knees, and I said, that's it. Likely done for the season. Then you saw the replay. confirmed that suspicion. And obviously, as of right now, the report is just that he dislocated his knee. But I don't know what the timetable on that is, but I've never seen a guy get carted off and play the same season. Maybe it's happened. I don't know. But regardless, it doesn't look good. So kind of sucks. The mood for this one is a little bit sad. I guess the good news is we got Heat basketball back. If y'all missed my video earlier today, I did a recap of Media Day, which was just about this earlier this afternoon. So definitely go check that out. But anyways, this video is also sponsored by FanDuel, the first sponsor. And in my video this morning, I did cook up a Dolphins parlay with plus 1,500 odds that did not cash. I had Dolphins minus 2.5, which they did cover the spread. Tyreek Hill over 23.5 yards, which I don't believe that he did actually cover that. He had a 28-yard reception. I had Devon Achane as an anytime touchdown score, which also cashed. So things were looking good, except it didn't matter because Jalen Waddle didn't catch a pass on the first drive. So from the first drive, I was already out of it. That's why I should probably stop betting first drive things. Even though that one also should have cashed on the first drive. Waddle should have got the ball, but the defender jumped on his back. It should have been DPI, no call. There goes my parlay, but who cares? It was plus 1,500 odd parlay anyways. And even then, I can't care because y'all see the last leg I have there was Darren Waller under 1.5 receptions. I didn't think the man would get 2 catches. He had 2 tutties. So shout out to Darren Waller. I may look to pick him up in fantasy as we go on because I actually do have Tyreek Hill in one of my leagues. So that hurts a little bit. But anyways, back to my notes here. Took a few notes about the game. Before the game, you got another one of the banners flying with the plane. This time it said help wanted, new GM, new head coach. And it's like, I wonder, one, what does it feel like to be Mike McDaniel, to be arriving to your job? You look up in the sky and you see a banner that's asking for you to get fired. Like, it's just, it's a real feeling in the worst way possible. I can't imagine going to work and looking up in the sky and someone's telling me I suck. It's just weird. Also, who the hell has that much money to be doing this every week? I don't get it. Like, how rich do you have to be that you waste your money flying a plane to say fire the football team's head coach? I don't know. This is a little bit weird. You did get the Dolphins in their blackout jerseys, whatever you want to call them. Beautiful. Some people liked them and hated them based off the photos. I did like them based off the pictures. And it does seem like on the field, most people decided they liked them as well. And then getting into the game here, the Dolphins' first drive would stall. They would settle for a field goal. Although, again, Waddle, there was DPI on him that went uncalled. But anyways, the Dolphins would start the game up 3-0. But then the Jets would go right down the field, just running the ball down the Dolphins' throat. They were getting quite literally whatever they wanted. Whether it was even 3rd and 5 and they were running the ball up the middle because they knew they were getting 7 yards every time. And it's just a shame because we knew the cornerbacks, in the kind of the safety play, down the field defensively would be an issue for the Dolphins. The D-line was supposed to be strong. So to kind of see them get torched all year outside of a few plays has been disheartening. And especially on this first drive was more than disheartening. It was embarrassing, quite honestly. But then I think it was maybe Braylon Allen was about a few inches from a touchdown. Looked like he was about to punch it in, running the ball up the middle. But then Jack Jones made a hell of a play just to punch the ball out. Dolphins would get their first fumble recovery. Shout out to Jack Jones for saving the touchdown. He's I know we obviously talked a lot about the Dolphins' lack of corners. Jack Jones has been solid this year. He has a few times where he got roasty toasty a little bit, some bad penalties, but he's made some plays. I think I've been happy with Jack Jones overall, and Rasul Douglas, who also had a sack today, actually. But this time it was Jack Jones making a great play. Dolphins would have to go 90 yards to score, and that's exactly what they would do. They would go right down the field for the touchdown. This was going to be Darren Waller's first of the day. Beautiful dot from Tua. Just nice to have a big body like Darren Waller finally, similar to what we had last year in Jonnu Smith. Just a big body. Tua throws it up. Waller comes down with it. The Fins would be up 10-0. On that same drive, the Dolphins were really cooking, just feeding Tyreek Hill. Had a beautiful pass to Malik Washington, running behind Tua. Tua did like a no-look flip behind his back. Just some beautiful plays and trickery there, just like we saw from the Dolphins, back in 2022, 2023. So real nice to see some flashes of that. Then on the ensuing defensive possession, that's when the Dolphins' defensive line really woke up. The Jets would actually go for a 4th down of their own, which was a crazy time to do it. It was like midfield, 4th and 4. Why the hell they were going for it, I don't know. It was only a 10-0 game. But the Dolphins will get really great pressure from Terrell Dotson. Shout out to him. Definitely not one of the bigger names on the D-line. He's not Chubb or Phillips or Sealer or Chop Robinson. But he made a great play there. Really got this, made a nice effort to get to Justin Fields there. Strip sack, he punched it out, and Jalen Phillips will recover the ball. So nice to see Phillips finally get his name called a little bit. It's been a slow start to the season for him. Unfortunately, on that play, the Dolphins would go 3 and out. Jets would get the ball before half, and they would get a field goal to only be down 10-3 at the start of the first half, which was kind of defined just by bad penalties both ways. Both teams kind of left some points on the board with that, but what can you expect when two bad teams are playing football together? Regardless, it was still a pretty fun first half to watch for the Dolphins fans. I was glad the people that paid their hard-earned money to go see the team for some reason got a little bit of enjoyment. But hey, maybe the Dolphins are turning things around, and if you want to do the same and go see them in person, you can do that by using today's sponsor, Game Time. The Miami Dolphins are in midseason form. The Florida Panthers are hungry to repeat as champions again. The Miami Heat finally tip off with real basketball later this week, and the Miami Hurricanes look like a powerhouse with trenches that are must-see TV. But even better than watching on TV is to be a part of the action live and in person, and there's no better way to do that than with the sponsor of today's video, Game Time. In fact, I just used Game Time a couple weeks ago when I went to see the Miami Hurricanes dominate the Florida Gators, and I'm really glad that I went because the stadium was electric and finding my tickets was as easy as a Ruben Bain sack. And that's because Game Time has an extremely friendly user interface that allows you to see a panoramic preview of what your view will look like from your actual seats. And the price is always shown with fees included, so no more hidden costs popping up at the last second. So if you want to see some Heat preseason ball that's tipping off just later this week, or want to see Tyreek Hill one more time in person before the Dolphins inevitably trade him, make sure to download the Game Time app today or go to gametime.co and sign up using my promo code CLNS. That's promo code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It's as quick as a Gustav Forsling slap shot. Simply swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. I'm also now realizing that I recorded that promo earlier today, and I mentioned if you want to see Tyreek Hill one last time before the Dolphins trade him, use Game Time. And looks like nobody else will get to see Tyreek Hill this year, but whatever, I'm not going to edit that promo. It's only running for this week to give y'all a little behind the scenes. But anyways, going into the third quarter, Jets have a chance to go down the field because they'll start with possession. They got a chance to go down the field and tie the game up, but they would fumble again, this time on the opening kickoff, and then the Dolphins would start cooking once they get the ball back. That's when you had the huge catch by Tyreek Hill for the first down before he was carted off the field. We already discussed that at length to start this video. It was kind of cool to see him, in good spirits, getting carted off. He's a sicko for sure. He's hyping the team up, clapping, blew a kiss to the crowd. So it was nice to see him in good spirits and see his team, kind of all have his back. As much as I kind of always have the off the field stuff in the back of my head and the sometimes being a bad teammate stuff, it does seem like he did kind of come into this year and he meant his apology, because he obviously had to apologize for the things he said to end last season. Tua's even said that they did fight, sort of like brothers fight, but they made up. And it did look like Tyreek Hill was trying hard this year to be better, to be well. I even saw the video of him pre-game today, hyping up his teammates, and it does seem like his teammates really like him for what it's worth. So very unfortunate news to see him go down, and I'm sure we'll get an official diagnosis soon that he's probably out for the season. Changes a lot because I thought he was a guy that was certainly going to get traded at some point this year. Now he probably won't get traded at all. I'm talking even next offseason, because who the hell knows what he's going to be when he comes back. A guy who's built off speed, busting his knee. I don't know. I guess maybe a knee dislocation is a little bit different from a torn ACL or Achilles. I'm not entirely sure, but anyways, the Dolphins really wouldn't slow down offensively. They would still score, this time another Waller touchdown, wide open. Dolphins would be up 17-3, but the Jets would match. They would actually go for a 4th and 1 on their drive, which ended up being a crazy 43-yard scrambling, running touchdown for Justin Fields. He is very awesome when he's running the ball. That would make it a 1-score game, 17-10. But the Dolphins would do a good job matching with a touchdown to end the third quarter. A little bit of a scary drive because Tua was running himself, did the smart thing to slide, still got popped in the head. It was a late hit, penalty on the Jets. But thank God Tua just popped right back up because I couldn't have taken another injury. So Tua popped right back up. Good toughness by him. Love to see it. But the touchdown would be A-Chan made a few nice moves, a couple of shifty side steps after a little pitch to put Miami up 24-10. Then in the fourth quarter, the Jets would get a field goal, make it an 11-point game with 13 minutes to go. Both teams would exchange punts before the Dolphins finally got a field goal to go up 14 with about 3.5 minutes to go. A little bit of conservative play calling there from McDaniel. I would have liked to see him go for the touchdown. Instead, he just kind of played the clock and settled for the field goal. But just, not great stuff. There was even on that drive, the Jets called a timeout. I think this was goal to go also. The Jets called a timeout, and then the Dolphins also had to burn a timeout because they couldn't get their playoff in time right after the Jets timeout. Like, how the hell you can't get your playoff? There was just a timeout by the opposing team. It's just... People, I've heard a lot of people on the timeline saying Mike McDaniel has been a little bit better the last couple of weeks, and I guess sure, maybe he has, but it's still stuff like this that's too often. It happens too often for my liking. You should never have to waste a timeout after the other team's timeout because you can't get a playoff. I just think that they're still very dysfunctional and disorganized in that regard, but. Anyways, Dolphins would be up 14, but Jets would make it a 1-score game after Garrett Wilson had a nasty touchdown catch, just completely mossed the defender. For some reason, they went for 2. The TV announcer said it was a good idea because instead of, I guess, tying the game, they could win it with a 2. But to me, you hit the field goal now, and then you go for 2 on the second touchdown. Why would you do it on the first? They were still down 2 scores prior to that touchdown. Didn't matter because Jets did get the 2-point conversion. Justin Fields ran it in. So they were only down 6 with about a minute and a half to go. So it was dicey for a second there. Fortunately, like we alluded to earlier, Darren Waller did recover the onside kick. The Dolphins were able to run all but 13 seconds off the clock. And then Jake Bailey just got a nasty punt that landed right at the 1. And that was pretty much all that she wrote. Just looking at the box score real quick. Again, Tua only 177 yards, but 2 tutties, no picks. He was very good today. A-Chan, only 1 reception today, but 99 yards rushing. So very versatile for him. From week to week, you never know if he's going to have 100 receiving yards or 100 rushing yards. Love what I've seen from him so far this season. And then offensively, Dolphins moved the ball around well. Even with Hill going out in the first quarter or first half, still 67 yards, 6 catches. But yeah, Waddle had 48 yards, Waller 27. Few other guys there. So, and then on the defensive side, it was just Terrell Dodson with the sack and Rasul Douglas with the sack. So, and shout out to Mason Taylor on the Jets, by the way. Of course, our guy, current University of Miami D coordinator or some kind of defensive coach, and Dolphins legend, obviously. His son Mason Taylor, 5 catches, 65 yards today. Good for him, man. Feel good for him. So nice win for the Dolphins. I think they do have Carolina next week, so another game they'll probably be favored for. We'll see if the Dolphins can get back within 1 game under 500. Anyways, I did see another bet that I like on FanDuel. You can actually bet what the exact finish would be for the AFC East. And they have this one: Bills first, Pats second, Dolphins third, Jets fourth at plus 150. I think that's going to be what it is, because the Bills at number 1 is a lock. I suppose, any of those other 3 could flip, but it's like Pats already beat Miami this year. Miami beat Jets, and I think the Patriots are actually probably a step better than the Dolphins and Jets, especially with Tyreek Hill out now. So I think this is going to be the way the cookie crumbles, and if you can get that at plus 150, I kind of like that as a bet. I really do. But anyways, that's all I got to say for this video. Comment some of your thoughts down below on the Dolphins or the Heat, whatever you want to talk about. Like and subscribe because all your support is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. This homegrown bitch don't offend me.